What is going on, guys? My name is Taylor Stuber, and I'm here to break down this 9-game NBA slate on Draftkings and PrizePicks.com. If you guys are new here, welcome. If you guys are a returning viewer, welcome back. I know I did not post a video yesterday. Apologies for that. Kind of used the day to recharge the batteries to get me through this entire NBA season. Again, I'm a one-man show here, so, doing this every single day can get tiring. So taking smaller breaks like that really helps energize me and get me going through the entire NBA season. I did end up live streaming, so if you guys entered the giveaway in my previous video, I did announce that winner in the live stream. I don't think he was in there. It was Ray Basketball. I know I see you in the comments every single day, so make sure to hit me up on Twitter and I'll get you your $25 via Venmo or Cash App. If you guys want to enter my giveaway today, which will be announced tomorrow, all you have to do is subscribe, like this video, and then comment below literally anything. Not only are you entering that giveaway for $25, but you are also helping me, and that is the #1 way of supporting me. It's completely free to do, so I appreciate you guys that are doing that. So we will announce that winner tomorrow. I will be live streaming at 5 p.m. Central Time like I do every single day, a full hour before lock, breaking down everything, all the latest breaking injury news, which I'm sure we are going to have plenty of throughout the day, as well as answering as many questions as I possibly can. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm playing on FanDuel, DraftKings, and PrizePicks.com every single day, you guys can join me over on Patreon. That is linked down below, as well as the pinned comment. $25 a month. I think it's a pretty damn good deal. And if you guys aren't in the Discord, don't know what you're doing, a very, very quickly growing community, over 1,700 members, completely free to join. That is linked down below. And if you are trying to take advantage of PrizePicks, you need to be in that Discord. Whenever injuries happen, we are all over it way, way quicker than PrizePicks are to take it off the board. So want to be in over there, but let's just jump into this slate. Also, just a quick reminder, I'm running a pretty damn big giveaway over on Christmas Day. If you guys want to enter for and be eligible for those giveaways on Christmas during that live stream, you will want to be following me over here on Twitter, and make sure to like this pinned comment so you can be eligible to win. You need to like it and follow me to be eligible. But let's just jump right into this slate, guys. We'll start up top with the best game on the entire slate, the Sacramento Kings versus the Charlotte Hornets. We have a 231.5 over under. The Hornets are currently 0.5 favorites, so a very, very tight spread in the highest over under on the slate. You are going to want to have plenty of pieces from this game. I know there is 9 games on the slate, but this game environment is as good as it could possibly get. The Sacramento Kings are going to be without Richaun Holmes, so they are healthy outside of him. Tristan Thompson is likely going to start in his place. We could see Alex Len, but we've seen multiple times with Alex Len starting in replacement of Richaun Holmes. He has been very, very poor this year. And now with Alvin Gentry as the head coach, the interim coach, it looks like he probably favors Tristan Thompson a bit more. Tristan Thompson started the second half of last game when Richaun Holmes was injured with that eye injury. He's going to be out the next couple of games. But, the Charlotte Hornets are the 3rd fastest team in the entire NBA, 2nd worst defensive rating on the year at 112.7. But over the last 7 games without Mason Plumlee, who is out again today, they have had a 123.4 defensive rating, which is it's incredible to even see. They've been allowing so many points, but their offense has been good, and so they've been matching the points, keeping these games competitive. Going into OT, these games have been very, very close and competitive, and I'm expecting the same here. So guys like De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, I trust a lot. I know their minutes are going to be very, very secure. Outside of those two guys, the minutes can get pretty volatile. Harrison Barnes returned last game. He ended up playing 30 minutes. I think they could rise in this game. And at $5,400, this seems entirely too cheap for him. At the beginning of the year, he was playing like 36, 37 minutes a game. I think in this situation, with him slowly coming back, I think he'll probably play 32 to 34 minutes, which is also way too cheap for him. Not really on Buddy Hield all that much. And then we saw last game, even with Harrison Barnes returning, Terrence Davis, who I talk about pretty much every time he's on the slate, it was still starting. Me Too ended up going to the bench. We'll probably see a similar situation here. And I think there's a good chance that this game ends up going really small, which is good for Terrence Davis. Gives him more opportunities to start in that extra wing or guard spot. and he's only $4,000. He started and played 30 minutes last game. I think we see a pretty similar situation here, and he has been amazing on a per minute basis. So he is one of my favorite value plays at 4,000. And assuming Tristan Thompson starts, I think he is solid at $3,500. Really want to get pieces from the Sacramento team, as well as the Charlotte Hornets on the opposite side. The Hornets are going to be without LaMelo Ball, Mason Plumlee, Terry Rozier, Ish Smith, Jalen McDaniels. And then right before I hit record on this, we saw that PJ Washington is now doubtful. So, this team has been running a very, very tight, 8-man rotation, with PJ Washington being one of those main guys. And now he is unlikely to play. So they are without so many guys. And Nick Richards has been starting over him, but just playing limited minutes to match the size of traditional centers, and then they would end up closing it out with PJ Washington. But in this matchup specifically, Nick Richards is going to have to start and play massive minutes. I know he played 22 minutes last game, but that was largely due to PJ Washington being into foul trouble, and he ended up fouling out at the end of the game, picked up 6 fouls. And Nick Richards played about 22 minutes. But without PJ Washington entirely, it's hard for me to imagine Nick Richards not playing, 30, 32 minutes in this game. We're going to see more minutes from guys like JT Thor. We're going to see this game likely go small. So we're going to see Miles Bridges at the 5, which we have seen a ton of so far this year. But especially without PJ Washington, we've never really seen a situation where Washington and Plumlee are both out. So Plumlee is going to be, or Bridges is going to be used at the 5 a ton in this game, which is going to open up minutes for a book night. But all in all, we've seen a similar situation for the Charlotte Hornets team in the last 7 games, or last 3 or 4 games specifically, with Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball out. And the regular starters like Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward, and Cody Martin, they all played 41 to 43 minutes last game in regulation. So, you're going to want to have pieces. I know they're priced up, but they're still too cheap. If they're going to play 40 minutes, which is probably what we're going to see in this situation, 40 plus minutes out of these guys, because they're trying to win these games and survive without LaMelo and Terry Rozier and Ish Smith. Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward, who is picking up a huge ball handling role right now, where the potential assists are through the roof right now. So, and then Cody Martin as well, all near must plays for me, where I'm going to be mix and matching these guys in all of my lineups. I'm okay with playing 2, 3, 4 of these guys and running it back with some of the Kings. So I definitely need to see what the starting lineup is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to end up being Kelly Oubre, Bridges, Hayward, Cody Martin, and Nick Richards, with some extended minutes from Book Night and JT Thor off of the bench. So it's definitely a situation you're going to want to have some guys from. I'm sure they're going to call up a couple more guys from the G League, but we'll move on to these other games that aren't nearly as interesting as the first game. Move on to the Dallas Mavericks versus the Indiana Pacers, at 212.5 over under. The Pacers are currently 2-point favorites. The Mavericks are going to be without Willie Cauley-Stein. Sterling Brown is questionable, but the team is mostly at full strength right now, and not really interested in much at all on this Dallas side. On the Pacers side, TJ Warren, TJ McCollum, and Justin Holiday are all out after a pretty rough stretch to begin the year. Karis LeVert in his last 3 games have had usage rates of 29%, 27.5%, and 29.3%. So he's still only 5.8K. Gets a pretty decent matchup against the Mavericks, and I think that he is a bit undervalued right now. A much better play on FanDuel, where he's nearly a must play over there. And then Chris Duarte, his role seems a lot more secure without TJ McConnell. Gee, I don't know what I'm doing. I knew I was saying it wrong the whole time. And Justin Holiday. So I think that he's more of a secondary option. But, as the day progresses, we're going to get much better plays. And so guys like that are kind of going to the wayside, not really interested in anybody in that game for the most part on Draftkings. Move over to the Brooklyn Nets versus the Atlanta Hawks, at 227.5 over under. The Hawks are currently 2-point favorites. This is probably the second or third best game environment on the entire slate. Very, very good game environment. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be without Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris. Kevin Durant has been playing massive minutes, specifically in the second half. When the games are competitive, he'll pretty much play the entire second half. And so he gets a great matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. He rested last game against the Houston Rockets, so he is well rested right now. with multiple days off in a row. They dropped his price down to 10.8K. I think he's one of the better spend up options. LaMarcus Aldridge also got the day off against the Houston Rockets. He had been playing 34 minutes a game with Blake Griffin out of the rotation. Nick Claxton returned a couple games ago, and in the last game that Aldridge played, he was on pace to play those low 30s minutes until Claxton came into the game, had a very, very good stint, and they ended up closing with Claxton over Aldridge, and Aldridge's minutes ended up getting cut short. I think that's pretty fluky. Claxton grabbed the start last game in replacement of LaMarcus Aldridge and did not play well at all. And so I think in this game, Aldridge probably gets back up to his 32 to 34 minutes, and at $5,500, I like him quite a bit. Obviously, his usage is down playing next to the starters, but if he's going to play that many minutes, I think he is definitely viable at 5.5K. But I'm only really considering Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge here. James Harden is a fine play as well. I would definitely only play one of Harden and Kevin Durant together, considering it is a 9-game slate, but I do prefer Kevin Durant to James Harden just slightly. On the Atlanta Hawks side, they are going to be without Bogdan Bogdanovic, DeAndre Hunter, Solomon Hill, and Onyeka Okongwu. Cam Reddish is expected to return here. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot has been starting in replacement of Solomon Hill and DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanovic. He's been playing very, very well, so that is not good for Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish is his minutes are likely going to be monitored, assuming he's back. And so I'm not really considering Cam Reddish. If TLC is starting, I would still prefer him to Cam Reddish. If Reddish is starting by any means, I think that they are less likely to monitor his minutes very much. So I would consider Cam Reddish there. But, both secondary value plays for me personally. And then my favorite spend up option on the slate as of right now from a point per dollar aspect is going to be Trae Young at $10,000. He's been playing at an elite level all year, specifically as of late. So I love him right here in this matchup against the Brooklyn Nets. They don't really have anybody to slow him down right now. It's going to have to be a team effort, but I just think this game is going to shoot out, and you're going to want to have Trae Young. And I was looking at potential assists of some other players recently. In the last couple of games, Trae Young has been averaging like over 22 potential assists a game, which is absurd, and he's shooting very, very well right now as well, and he's only $10,000. So I love Trae Young right now. I haven't made my thumbnail yet, but I'm pretty sure he's going to end up being the cover boy. Move over to the New York Knicks versus the Toronto Raptors at 207.5 over under. The Raptors are currently 1-point favorites. The Knicks have no injuries right now. Nerlens Noel is expected to return, and before he missed last game, they made a switch up in the lineup, and he was starting over Mitchell Robinson now, so he's a fine tournament option at $3,900, but not the best matchup. And not really considering much from this Knicks team outside of RJ Barrett, who has been dealing with an illness like the last month, and he has been very, very bad. But these last 2 games, it looks like he is feeling a lot better. His minutes are coming back up. He's shooting a lot better. He's shooting a lot more. And he's only $5,100, so he sticks out like a sore thumb right now. I think he's one of the better value plays at $5,100. On the Toronto Raptors side, they are going to be without OG Anunoby, Kem Birch, Goran Dragic. Precious Achiuwa and Justin Champagnie are both questionable right now. Precious Achiuwa ended up missing last game. Chris Boucher started in his place, played 22 minutes, was good in those 22 minutes, but he didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter because Justin Champagnie, who is questionable right now, hadn't played the entire game, got his first minutes to begin the fourth quarter and played the entire fourth quarter because he was playing well. So it seems like a very volatile situation for for whoever is the last starter if it's not Precious Achiuwa, because they don't really trust him all that much. So it could be Yuta Watanabe closing this game. So I definitely need to monitor the injury situation over here. It is worth mentioning, though, the Toronto Raptors guys like Van Fleet, Siakam, Scotty Barnes, and Gary Trent are all going to play like 38, 39 minutes as long as this game is competitive, especially if there's no Precious Achiuwa, because they'll lean on them a little bit more without a regular starter in Precious. Move over to the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Houston Rockets at 227 over under. The Bucks are currently 9-point favorites. The Rockets 7-game win streak right now, which is crazy. I just after starting off that poorly, I know they haven't been facing very good teams, but we just saw them last game. Who did they beat? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, they beat the Brooklyn Nets. And, granted, it was without Kevin Durant. But still, I mean, a pretty impressive feat for the Houston Rockets. The Bucks are going to be without Dante DiVincenzo, Brook Lopez, and Semi Ojeleye. George Hill is questionable right now. The Rockets are the fastest team in the league, first in pace. They garner the 12th worst defensive rating in the entire NBA. If you think the game stays competitive, the only guy that I'm considering here is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. 10.9K is entirely too cheap for him. He was dealing with foul trouble when he faced the Cleveland Cavaliers after missing a couple games before that. So he only played 27 minutes coming off that injuries. But, he got back up to 33 minutes last game. So I don't think there's really any minutes restriction from him as of right now. And he will absolutely murder this Houston Rockets team if the game stays close enough for him to get his full complement of minutes. And even we've seen it before, even in blowouts, where Milwaukee is causing the blowout, it's likely because Giannis is going off. And so even in 3 quarters, we've seen Giannis score 60, 70 fantasy points in like high 20s minutes before. So we could see a situation like that in this game, even if the game does blow out. Move over to the Houston Rockets. They're going to be without Kevin Porter Jr., Daniel House, and Jalen Green, as well as Usman Garuba. Jayshawn Tate and Eric Gordon will split all of the ball handling responsibilities while they're on the court. DJ Augustin will handle some when he's coming off the bench, but he's not playing very many minutes. They've really talked up Jayshawn Tate and his ball handling abilities, but he's been dealing with a lot of foul trouble recently. If he can avoid the foul trouble, I absolutely love his over prop over here on Prize Picks. I already posted it on the Patreon. I already placed the bet myself personally, but I love the over 3.5 potential assists, or over 3.5 assists for Jayshawn Tate here in this matchup. In the last 4 games without Kevin Porter Jr. or Kevin Porter Jr. only playing in the first half, or first quarter for one of the games, Jayshawn Tate has averaged 9.3 potential assists per game. He has nearly a 30% potential assist rate, or nearly a 30% assist percentage with Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. off the court this year so far. And if he can avoid foul trouble, those potential assists are going to be even higher. So 3.5 seems entirely too low for him. My only concern here is that the game blows out and he doesn't get his full complement of minutes. But I love the over 3.5 assists. And in the same vein, Eric Gordon, I like the over 3 assists as well. He has just not been as lucky with the assists going down. Jayshawn Tate in these last 4 games that I just talked about, at the last 5 games, he's hit his over 3.5 projected assist percentage. But these last 4 games where Kevin Porter Jr. has been out entirely or only playing the first half, he has had 7, 4, 7, and 5 assists. Eric Gordon, on the other hand, in these last 4 games has had 6, 3, 5, and 2, but he has pretty similar potential assists. Like I said, Jayshawn Tate has 9.3 potential assists per game. Eric Gordon 8.8, so only 0.5 less than him in these last 4 games. Just has not been as lucky. So I think Eric Gordon is a good buy low opportunity. I think you could pair both of them together. Obviously, you're going to need somebody else because you can't pick just 2 players from the same team. But I'll give you a play in the last game of the slate. So make sure to stick around for that play. If you guys want to tail me over here on Prize Picks, we've been killing it. Make sure to sign up and deposit using code Taylor, TAYLOR, when signing up and depositing for a 100% match bonus up to $100. But from a DraftKings perspective, I really like Eric Gordon at 5.5K. And expect Armani Brooks to start again at $4,000. I think he's a very, very strong play. In some of my lineups last time he was on the slate, I started him over Ayo Dosunmu just because I talked about in my stream pretty extensively that this was a very good opportunity for him to be a direct pivot off of Ayo, who was chalky, and Armani Brooks was significantly less owned and performed way, way better than him. The only reason Daniel Tice started 2 games ago against the New Orleans Pelicans was because they wanted to match the size of Jonas Valanciunas. Then we saw last game when they weren't facing such a good center, they started Armani Brooks and he played 29 minutes. So he's going to start here again against the Milwaukee Bucks. He's only $4,000. He has been pretty good on a permanent basis. So I like him quite a bit. And then Garrison Matthews being leaned on pretty heavily here without KPJ and Jalen Green. Got up to 38 minutes last game. He is pretty reliant on his three ball, but that's where you want to attack Milwaukee. Milwaukee is pretty weak on the perimeter, much better in the interior. Move on to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Versus the Minnesota Timberwolves at 213 over under. The Cavaliers are currently 1-point favorites. The Cavaliers are going to be without Colin Sexton and Dylan Windler. Minnesota is one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, especially allowing offensive rebounds and putbacks, which is the bread and butter of Jared Allen, who has been playing massive minutes and has picked up a much larger offensive role since Colin Sexton has been out for the year. So Jared Allen, 7.8K. Nobody's going to play him. He's in an absolute smash spot here. This spot is almost as good as it was when we played him against the Washington Wizards, where he put up 53.25. Absolutely love Jared Allen here against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Don't think many people are going to be playing him. He's pretty much the only guy that I'm considering from the Cleveland side. Move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. D'Angelo Russell was questionable, but right before I ended up recording this video, he was downgraded to doubtful, so definitely a boost to guys like Towns, Anthony Edwards. We're going to see more minutes out of Patrick Beverley and Malik Beasley. But it is a very, very tough matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been very, very good defensively so far this year. So I'm not really considering all that much from this Minnesota team. Anthony Edwards at 8,400, probably my favorite play. Patrick Beverley also in consideration. Move over to the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Oklahoma City Thunder at 217.5 over under. The Lakers are currently 5-point favorites. The Lakers are going to be without Kendrick Nunn and Trevor Ariza. Rajon Rondo is questionable. They haven't submitted a injury report yet. Let me look at my phone. Okay, still nothing new. I think there is a pretty good opportunity for one of Westbrook, James, and Anthony Davis to sit here. It is a road matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the second leg of a back-to-back. So make sure to monitor that. Would not be the slightest bit surprised here. But this is a great matchup for them, and the spread is only 5 points, so you can't just assume this game's going to blow out because Vegas only has it at 5 points. So LeBron at 9.8K, Anthony Davis at 9.6K, being defended by Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I mean, it's just an absolute smash spot for Anthony Davis, 9.6K. I'm probably going to go back to the well with him. I know he burned us yesterday, but dude, I mean, he is way too cheap. And, Westbrook's traveling to Oklahoma City, so a revenge game narrative there as well. So I love the 3 spin-ups here. I would probably rank it AD, LeBron, and then Westbrook, but all 3 of them are in play. Obviously, a ton changes if one of those 3 stars ends up sitting. Not really considering any of the value plays from the Lakers. Move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're dealing with no injuries right now. A massive pace-up spot here against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers, one of the fastest teams in the league. They're like second in pace right now, and they are pretty poor on defense right now. But the only 2 guys on this team that have stable minutes at considerable price tags is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort. I think they are fine plays. If you're playing one of these studs on the Lakers, make sure to bring it back with somebody, and it's going to be Lou Dort or Shai for me. Josh Giddey, his minutes are stable, but I can't really get to him at $6,400. And then guys like Baisley, Favors, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, their minutes are just very, very volatile, and it's hard to gauge where they're going to be on a night-to-night basis. So I'm sticking with Dort and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Thunder side. Move on to the Detroit Pistons versus the New Orleans Pelicans at 211 over under. The Pelicans are currently 6.5-point favorites. The Pistons are going to be without Kelly Olynyk. The Pelicans have the 4th worst defensive rating in the entire NBA, so a matchup to target for the Pistons here, but they have just been so bad offensively. The only reason they ever keep in games is because they're pretty decent defensively. But, man, the Pelicans, 6.5-point favorites. I don't think the Pelicans should be favored by 6.5 against any team. So, I definitely like the Pistons side there from a betting standpoint. But I'm not really considering anybody from this Detroit team. Isaiah Stewart could easily find himself in foul trouble with Jonas Valanciunas having such a large usage rating, and he is very, very good at getting to the line and getting people into trouble, especially when they struggle to keep themselves out of foul trouble, like Isaiah Stewart does for the majority of his games. On the Pelicans side, they are going to be without Zion Williamson and sadly Kyra Lewis as well, who just tore his ACL. He is going to be out for the year. Josh Hart returned last game and played 42 minutes in overtime. So he played 37 minutes in regulation. He's only $5,000. Pretty solid matchup for him. $5,000, one of the best point per dollar plays on the slate. I think Devontae Graham at $4,900 without Kyra Lewis. His minutes become a bit more secure because they liked playing Kyra Lewis off the bench in replacement of Devontae Graham. So without him, we're probably going to see a bit more of Tomas Satoransky. But I think Devontae Graham's minutes probably rise into that like 34-minute range. So $4,900 is probably too cheap for him. And then they've priced down Jonas Valanciunas all the way down to $8,000. I think he absolutely abuses Isaiah Stewart in the Detroit Pistons front court. Move on to the Boston Celtics versus the Phoenix Suns. A 214 over under. The Suns are currently 5-point favorites. The Celtics are going to be without Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum gets an obvious bump without Jaylen Brown here, but it gets a pretty tough matchup against Mikal Bridges, who will probably be running around, chasing him around the court. So a tough matchup for Jason Tatum, but the usage and opportunities should definitely be there in groves. I like him at 9.9K, one of my favorite spend up options on the slate. Still deciding on between him and some of the Lakers guys. Again, I still prefer Trae Young to them all, but you can easily get up to two of them. And then Dennis Schroeder at $6,500 is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. He has always been the biggest beneficiary with no Jaylen Brown on the court. And if Jason Tatum is struggling offensively at all with Mikal Bridges all over him, it's going to open up more for Dennis Schroeder because without Jaylen Brown, this team really struggles to have guys that can create their own offense outside of Jason Tatum and Dennis Schroeder. So I think Schroeder could be leaned on pretty heavily here. And over the last 4 games without Jaylen Brown on the court, Dennis Schroeder has averaged 9.5 potential assists per game. And I'm also going to take the Dennis Schroeder over 4.5 assists over here on PrizePicks. I'm going to pair that with Jayshawn Tate as my official play today, power play. Over 3.5 assists for Jayshawn Tate, over 4.5 assists for Dennis Schroeder. If you want to add a third, it would be Eric Gordon at over three assists. So those are the 3 plays that I'm going with as of right now, but feel really strongly about Jayshawn Tate and Dennis Schroeder's over assists here. I think the opportunities should definitely be there given their current situations. And then move on to the last team of the slate, the Phoenix Suns. They are going to be without Devin Booker, Frank Kaminsky, Abdel Nader, and Dario Saric. The minutes outside of Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Mikal Bridges are very, very volatile right now. They kind of mix and match guys like Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Cam Payne, Landry Shamet. So I really have no interest in those guys. And DeAndre Ayton gets the toughest matchup against the interior front court of the Boston Celtics with Robert Williams and Al Horford. So, you know, Chris Paul gets the clear best matchup here. $8,300. I love Chris Paul tonight. I'm thinking about taking his over props over on PrizePicks, but you'll need to be joined in that Patreon if you guys want to know my more of my official plays over there. But make sure to sign up and deposit using code Taylor, TAYLOR, when signing up and depositing for a 100% match bonus up to $100 over here on PrizePicks.com. But I appreciate you guys being here. See you guys in the live stream an hour before lock. Best of luck tonight, and until next time, peace.